one.
Yeah, no, it was the one before that,
Yeah.
but the thing about using Zap for me is I haven't logged into my profile in over 5 years. So I'm sure they're not gonna let me.
Well, and your images
Really?
probably to apply to a show have to be current. I mean,
No,
you've got
not
the
applying
years.
to a show.
Really?
The mock jury.
Right. No, I know, but the dates will be on there.
Oh, you can change the dates.
Yeah.
Actually, my images are from the slide days.
Oh, wow. The olden days.
But I'm gonna make myself a note. When I have some free time, I'll put together a presentation.
So does anybody have the same, I don't know how you want to describe it, but when I get out of Zap, I just X out of it. I don't sign out.
Yeah, you don't
The
have
next,
Right.
so the next time I sign in, I go through the thing and it goes, oh, your time is timed out.
Yeah, I've
And
seen that.
I have to sign in again.
Right.
Which is
Wait, you always have to sign in again. Juried Art Services.
no.
You
Sign
can
in twice. I'm talking about signing in twice after I type in my name and password because I haven't signed out.
I have that with artists that I work with when I've uploaded images.
Annoying.
Juried Art Services keeps you signed in forever.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
Great.
not good.
Why?
Because they should sign you out when you're, it should just time out.
No,
know?
that's right. They should sign you out. No, I
Well,
have to
it should time out is what I mean. At least.
well, whatever.
I mean,
Well, maybe they have a timeout that might be 2 weeks.
that's long though. I mean,
No,
if you're on your bank's website, you want it to automatically time out in case you forget.
Why?
yeah, well, I always forget to sign out.
Why?
So then I go
So
so then I go to sign in and it tells me so I type in my name and password and press enter and then it tells me I've timed out. I have to sign in again.
Right.
So every time I go there, unless I manually sign out, I have to sign back in.
So how hard is it to manually sign out, Barry?
It's just a pain.
You have to
It isn't.
remember.
I just forget because
you just
I
click
never
log
sign out of anything. I just X out and it automatically signs you
I
out.
see. So, but on those occasions where you have actually signed out, do you have to sign in twice or just once?
No, just once. That's why I know that that
Okay,
must
so
be the thing.
so then you should just click the sign out button
Great.
instead of the X button.
And then then I have this press all the squares that have the bicycle in it. It's I mean
yeah.
there's that commercial with the robot. And he's looking at it and like, oh my god, that's how I feel. Like, come on.
How about
this isn't
squares that
the
have a speaker in it?
it isn't the the Secret Service or something. It's just Zap.
I know, and every 6
Who
months it
cares?
forces you to reset your password no matter what.
Well, I never get that, but that you know what?
Well, I think it's important to sign out like of your bank, things like that.
Yeah, that's right. The bank. Yes, that's right. The bank. But I think my bank just signs me out automatically.
Yes, so does mine.
But and I don't know if this is true, but I understand instead of just closing the window, it's better to actually log out.
If you
Safer.
close the tab completely, it should be the equivalent.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but if you're on your own computer, if
What
you're
they
a
don't want you
public
to do is
computer,
to
you
leave
wouldn't-
the tab open, because if your computer got hacked, somebody could read some data from the tab.
So
But
the
if it
question
goes
came up
down,
again,
so-
the question came up again today. I posted for a beginner that Sunshine Artist is an option looking for shows. And I also worded it though I hate to recommend this. And people wanted to know why.
It's good for beginners. Let them listen.
Exactly.
Let them find out for themselves anyway. Like the rest of us.
Well, there was a time that it just listed all the shows, so it was a valuable resource. You just didn't know which shows were worth doing.
You're not going to know until you do them.
Right.
And then make friends with your neighbor and then ask your neighbor.
I don't think even your neighbors tell you the good shows anymore. Everybody's giving information to themselves.
Yeah, that's a problem. Hey,
Well, what I recommend always for beginners, to see what's local and inexpensive, open studios. At this time of year, there's a little gift shows and things like that, just so that they can get their feet wet. I mean,
So go ahead, Alison.
pardon?
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I mean, to look at the Sunshine Artist seems so vast. Like, how would you even choose? But yeah, I tell people to go to local shows, visit them, see if they think their work fits, do a little research, and open studios or, things like that. I mean, I love open studios anyway, but it's my very first art fair. It wasn't expensive to do, but it was a waste of time. And there were literally quilted tissue box covers. So, that was my first experience. And then I didn't do anything for a very long time. But, it's just hard to know when you're beginning. So, until you start doing those things, you're not going to meet people to talk to about. And that's why I say go visit shows and, that are local. So it keeps it inexpensive. And, look, I know people who they sign up for like 10 shows and travel and not all shows are good. All things being equal, there are certain shows that are good, but you might not do well at them. That's a different story. And so anyway, I always recommend go locally, spend time looking at shows, take notes, and do local, inexpensive sorts of events to get your feet wet and figure out where you want to go from there. Rather than spending all the money to put a booth together, and get a tent and all of that before you have any experience with that. I mean, personally, I'm kind of big on that. Even with learning jewelry, I always recommend that people take classes somewhere and they could use the tools before they buy them. Rather than just like buying everything, and because you don't know really what you need. So it's the same idea, just immersing yourself a little bit, getting some experience, being able to talk to people about it more. And, so if you do a local show and it doesn't cost that much and you don't make any money, you've learned a lot, at least. Local
smart.
community.
If you're smart.
Well, I think that people don't know where to start in the first place. So,
I mean, we started doing mall shows.
mhm.
You only learn something the first show. The next 10 years was just a total waste of time.
Oh, well, that's interesting. It took me a long time to do art fairs. I mean, I did open studios twice a year, built up a clientele. I also got good advice from other artists. Like the best thing one of the best pieces of advice is the mailing list. Collect names of people who are interested in your work and keep in touch with them. You know, and so I mean, that's gold. There are people I've seen. Sometimes I don't see people for 10 years, but they've stayed on my mailing list, and so it's, you know, creating this history that becomes your long career.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how often I'll ask artists if they have a mailing list and they say no. And we're
Mhm.
talking about getting ready to retire.
Right, right. I mean, I tell people, put your family and your friends on the mailing list. That's a place to start, you know, so you can at least get in the habit of compiling it, getting emails out. And, you know, and back in the old days, there were postcards that you sent out. I mean, now you have a lot of different options. I still send out postcards. I send out once a year now, but anyway, people are so busy in their lives, they forget who we are. And I know for myself, I might take an artist card or follow them on Instagram, and you know, it's like, oh, who was that artist? I was in this town, and I could picture the work, but I just can't remember who they are. Right. And so if you got an email, it would remind you. But art fairs, there's so much work that I think it's worth, you know, spending the time to research. You know, I used to go with a friend of mine, and we'd just locally, within an hour's distance, we'd visit different art fairs, and we'd also go to galleries. And you know, I found galleries that way. This was a long time ago when I used to work with more galleries. But there's just something about, you know, being present, because, you know, somebody could tell you X show is a really good show, but maybe they're a different medium. Maybe it's not right for your work. So, you know, you could get a feeling of it, or even like working with a gallery. So I've been writing a series for my student emails, because I have separate customers and people who take classes. It was focused on studio practices. Now it's focused on business, because a student emailed me, and she recently put her work, she's retired, and she put her work into a shop, and she has no idea how to conduct business or what to do or whatever. So I started this, and they're short, they're in emails, so they're not that long. But she had learned from this book that standard is, if the artist gets 40%, the gallery gets 60%, or 70-30. And I said, I've never heard that in my life. For me, I know standard in a gallery is 50-50. Sometimes you could negotiate 60-40 the artist. But this book was telling her the opposite. And honestly, I couldn't afford to put my work in a gallery if the gallery was getting 70%.
Who wrote the book?
I will look
Because
that up.
well, no, because they're making money by sending out false information. Go ahead, Barry.
Right.
Having owned a gallery for 10 years or more, the secret, okay, this is for buying work as opposed to consignment. I think with consignment, the artist sets the price. If you're
Right.
if the gallery's buying the work, there's a wholesale price, and you should be able to charge whatever you want.
Right.
I can tell you that in a non overly populated area, like let's say Cleveland, Ohio, or Detroit, or that our break even was, if we bought something for $100, we had to sell it for 230.
Okay.
Because
So
why?
you're right.
Why? First of all, there's all the overhead, you know, there's the lease, there's electricity, there's all this stuff. But there's also, you don't sell everything, so you have to do promotions, which means a sale. So which means you're reducing the price. So if you're
Right.
reducing the price, you have to make up for that 30 extra $30, or that actually it's the 0.3. You have to make up for, you know, because if you're giving deals, and then you give deals to repeat customers. There's a whole bunch of things where they're not actually paying 2.3, but you need that to balance out the whole thing to actually come down to a keystone, which is just doubling the price.
Hmm.
And that's where you want to kind of want to get to that, but you need to charge more to get to that point. Does that make any? Am I explaining myself correctly?
Yeah, I
mean,
learned. I did ACC Baltimore not
Yeah.
that long ago, and I actually through Snag had several mentors, so I got line sheets together, and it was very useful. My work isn't that wholesaleable anyway, but I wanted to try it because there was also the retail show, and so I learned about the line sheets and that you can assume 2.5% for the gallery markup. And so, but if they're buying your work, then that's different. You get the benefit of, having whatever your minimum sold, to a gallery, where, a consignment, you not only own the work, you get to dictate, for lack of a better word, the price. And which also, like, your prices should be consistent across the board wherever you're selling them, the pieces.
Yeah,
But
that's how. Which means that if you do an art fair in the same area where you have a gallery, you better make sure that your price is as much as their price, because
right.
and this is all from experience. You have people coming in going, "Oh, why did they charge less than you?" And they pay attention to that. So
Yes.
you have to be at the same price.
Yeah, I have a local gallery now, and we had this whole conversation, and yeah, it's consignment, and my prices are exactly the same. She has different work than I have, so a lot of things I make are, even if they're repeated designs, the stones are different, so they're all kind of one-offs, but they're all the same price. And I've had, like, I sell through Art for Home, and once I had a customer contact me, and she was looking for a better deal, and I channeled her back to Artful Home where she found the piece. And
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I want these other places to exist.
You have to do that. If you work with them and they found you through them, you have to send them back. You have to send them over there
Absolutely.
to buy it through them. The 2.3 is just, I want to differentiate between that and, let's say, selling in LA or New York. The break-even point in New York is 2.8 because of the higher rents and everything.
Rents.
Okay. And I know this because I did the numbers, because I actually did the actual financial part of this. So I know that this to be true. A lot of artists at art fairs, they sell their work for 3 or 4 times what it takes to make the work, or their wholesale price. So that's possible to do that too. Or if you'll know the price, you'll know what it'll go for. So you can adjust accordingly to the gallery that you're selling to. Because you know what they're, and I'll tell them, actually I'll give them the price that they should be charging. And I'll also give them some leeway. I said, well, you can go up to this price. You can charge a little more. In fact, I'll back off on my wholesale price, $10 or whatever, so that they can have that extra markup. Because I want them to sell, because I want to be able to repeat.
So you're saying
business.
you would educate the artists on sales?
The artist?
Yeah, when you're talking about prices, you're saying that you would discuss pricing with the artist.
Oh, I see. No.
Is that what you're saying?
No, with the gallery. I would, like I'm talking about
Oh,
now.
I see.
I would
Okay.
say, I'm selling it to you for $140, and I get 300 for the piece. So,
I understand. Okay.
But they could do 280 if they were doing that doubling of the price, but they can go up to 300. I'm very conscious of what they need to get to
Right,
make money, because if they don't make money, then they go out of business, which
right. So
not
there's a phrasey, go ahead, I'm sorry.
well, 95% of all the galleries go out of business. So,
There's
well,
a
okay,
phrase I've heard of galleries take 50%. And
that's you
I,
know
I
what?
don't I don't
Only
like that.
amateurs. Oh, listen, that's a pet peeve of mine. Only
Mhm.
amateurs and people that don't know what they're doing say that, because no, that isn't what you do. You have a
Right,
wholesale price. It's looking at it as the glass half empty. Oh, half my price. Well, no. That does that mean that you don't charge yourself for labor and driving to the show? That doesn't count as anything. Gas, food, hotel rooms. I mean, no, you're not giving them half the price. You're
right,
staying at
right.
home and you're shipping it, and you're dropping it off, and you're not
Hmm.
having to pay booth fees and
You're not
and
having
gas
to
and
do
all.
sales.
What's that?
You're not having to do sales.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's labor. Standing there and selling is labor,
Hmm.
you know.
Right. But I mean, yes, I mean, it's the idea is that it's 50-50 or whatever the case may be, because they're also participating in, their end of it by paying their rent, their insurances, staff, all of that,
Advertising,
advertising. Yep.
hiring employees to sell the work,
Hmm.
all that comes out of that portion.
And it's really nice to just get a check.
What's nice is to sell five pieces instead of one at a time at an art fair. You know, I'm willing to do the wholesale, not have to stand there and sell it or drive there or pay a booth fee or any of this stuff. I'd rather just, that's right, sell them five pieces at a certain price and then not have to deal with the sales. Now, one thing I offer that I don't know, I don't think anybody else offers this, but or they might, if something doesn't sell, if they have something for a year, I'll take it back and give them something else.
Hmm. Yeah, I've heard of that too.
It also, well, it keeps things fresh, and it also,
Yeah.
then they'll want to they'll want to work with you more, because
Hmm.
it's a good,
Takes
it's a perk.
takes away some of the risk.
Yeah, it's what you do. It's
Yeah.
business. You want to maintain a good business relationship. I mean, you can have one sell in one season and never sell to them ever again. I'd rather sell to a gallery for 10 straight years,
Right.
And if you have 10 of those, you don't have to go to art fairs. Well, that's an exaggeration, but
That's the old days, right?
yeah, I know. I'm living in the past, so
But I mean, some galleries have have bought my work, but generally it's consignment. So I'm very careful about who I do business with, and I haven't had a gallery for a while. But with consignment, communication is key.
yeah. And I've had very few positive experiences doing consignment.
I actually had I had a place actually in Cleveland, and until the pandemic, it was actually really great. She was very diligent about paying, because that's a big pet peeve, with
That's
galleries
right.
not paying
That's
on
right.
time. I used to have to, you know, chase places down, and I really resented having to go after what is actually mine. So,
Exactly. Don't
but
you hate
anyway,
when you
so
call them and they know it's you, and they know that you want your money, and they're not answering
mhm.
the phone.
Or when you ask for your work back and they send you hardly any work and a couple of post-dated checks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, there's a lot of, yeah, yeah. That's really great too. Listen. You're reminding me of certain things, like I was in Florida, and I literally had to drive. I drove over to this place, and I don't know. She was never there when I showed up. I actually had to wait around and lurk around till she showed up and went, "Oh, hey,
Uh,
you know, you've owed me this money for a long time." You know, you embarrass them. If
that's
they have to embarrass
terrible.
you, make to to pay you.
Right. It's terrible also because, well, you know, if they have your work, you know, you've already put all the time, effort, you know, the
Yeah.
labor and everything into it.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's like giving them a loan.
You know, I had this girlfriend who would help out, so to speak.
I don't
And
believe you, Barry. I don't believe
what?
you.
Okay. Okay. Let me rephrase it. There's somebody that I knew peripherally, and I would, she, you know, I'd hate to have to call them up and try and get my money. So she would do this. And then I'd hear from the gallery, you know, a few months later, and they go, "Who was that person?" She just kept bugging me and bugging me. I was laughing because I know what she was like, and you know, it was great. You know, I didn't have to do it. She did all the dirty work. It was fantastic.
I've had galleries that would sell like, I don't know, let's say 5 pieces a month. That's a lot, 5 to 7 pieces.
Yeah,
And
that is
they would on consignment, and they'd buy other people's work who wasn't selling. And, you know, I mean, I'd have to just show up. And
yeah.
I mean, every gallery I ended up, even galleries that sold my work, if they didn't pay and it didn't change, then I would just take my work out.
Oh yeah. Listen, if
And
they're using your money to buy other work, they're going out of business.
right,
You know, because sooner or later, all that money's going to be spent. You know.
right, right. Yep. You know, plus, you know, with consignment, you're giving them your work. And so it's like, well, I need the money when the piece sells. That's the agreement. That's why I also tell people that it's very important to have a contract, but contracts are only as good as the paper they're written on. So you have to have a good relationship and good communication with the gallery in the
You
first
know,
place.
plus if they go out of business, the gallery goes out of business, you're like last in line to get your work back, or you know, legally. It goes to
Right.
the top creditors. So, you know, it could go to the bank, or could go to, you're the last person to get your money, and if you're lucky, you'll get 10 cents on the dollar. You know, there was a while when ACE
Question.
wasn't doing so great. You know, I mean, like it was more like a buyer's market, so they ended up being consignment. And I know people that had $100,000 out in work and had a really hard time getting anything for
Ah,
that work.
wow.
You know, because they would sell the work and then use it to live on,
Hmm.
or whatever, you know, whatever, buy other people's
Right.
work to keep them afloat.
But I
You
think
know?
that, you know, when people are first selling their work, and I say this in my email to the students, my I don't know, post, if you want to call it that, you know, be careful when people compliment you, because you get into this haze um of compliments. And you know, and you know, it's like, oh, you want them to love you, and we love your work. And so the other thing I also say is, make sure they send you a contract ahead of time so you have time to read it, because often you bring your work in, the contract is right there, and you sign it. And so you're signing it under the haze of them loving your work, and you can't just read it in this logical way. And most contracts are fine, but still, you know, it's better to be of sound mind when you're looking at a contract. This new place, well, new to me that I'm in, you know, I had her email me the contract, and then in our discussion, she actually answered all my questions before I even asked them about insurance and discounts and all these different things. So anyway.
Yeah, the insurance part's a big deal, because it's actually a clue that they're on the ball, that they're being professional. If they don't have insurance, you know, don't give them the work.
Right.
You
Also,
know,
like if they're a new place and they don't quite have, we don't have our website up yet, you know, and they're opening next week, that kind of thing. I know things can get last minute, but it just seems like there are certain basics that should be in place before you're opening a business. And a website can be pretty quick to get up, even if it's just a page. And then the look of the website, I mean, if you're going to put your work in this gallery, what does their website look like? I mean, does it look ancient? Is it design wise attractive? And so many details.
I have a question for you too. How you price your artwork?
How do you price your artwork?
Yeah, how you price your artwork? I know how I do mine. Mine is a little easier, but I'm just curious how you guys go by, because, for example, you have the jewelry and the cost of the metal, but how you factor the time that you take you to produce the work into the price.
Right. Well, I will say a one-of-a-kind showpiece, even though they're more expensive, I probably make less on them because I spend more time. And it's a little harder to qualify the time because there's the thinking and, just things need to sit around sometimes. So there is that aspect also. I don't know. I mean, Barry, do you have any?
Yeah, it's cost analysis versus supply and demand, and sometimes those clash. In other words, you want to sell it for as much money as you can, okay, but there's a point where sales are going to slow down, so you kind of have to keep track of that. So let's say it costs me $100 to make something, and then I sell it for, and I'm just throwing these numbers out. This isn't necessarily reality. Let's say I'm selling it for $250, and I sell 10 at all the art fairs, every one, or a certain amount, which you keep track of that. And then I raise the price to 275. So now I might still sell 10 of them, which is great. So then I go to 300 and I'm starting to sell 8 or 6, or whatever it is. So I keep track of units per dollar per price. So there's those two things, plus what other people in your medium are selling similar work for. Because there is at an art fair, it might not be the same technique or material, but you're competing with, like I'm competing with home decoration pottery or sculptural pottery, non-functional, which will go, it could go into a cubicle or on a desk or somewhere, as decoration. And there are X amount of people at the art fair that are doing the same thing, and you're kind of so you're competing with the people that you're selling with, but you also have to be in check with them because they might not they might buy somebody else's work whose work is less money, or this could be confusing. They might buy the other work whose work is more money because it is a perceived value.
Yeah.
So the whole thing, there's no science behind this with artwork, like clothing or something. And even
There's a certain amount of guesswork in clothing too.
yeah, that's right. I know.
So I have always told my clients, have something really, really expensive in the booth so that everything else seems relatively inexpensive.
So I think that's a great idea. And then the other thing is, if you don't have the expensive item, you can't sell it, which sounds obvious, but
Yes.
but yeah, it's nice to have something in the booth that brings people in to ooh and ah over.
But there's also an anchoring thing. Business school, I heard some story about they asked people what their social security numbers were, and then they asked them what they would pay for something. And the people who had higher social security numbers were willing to pay more because just the fact that they had a high number in their head changed their perception of value. Now, I don't know that that was a valid, there's all sorts of social science that's got a sample size of 12, but,
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
but there is a perception
Well,
thing.
the higher social security number means they were younger. And that might have had something to do with it.
It's
Yeah, 'cause-
conceivable, Larry. I don't know, but
Plus, you're just doing last four or something.
Well, we all know that the older you are, the smarter you are.
with conspicuous exceptions, none of them here.
I'm not coming into, I'm just my perception, that's all.
Well, another question for you guys. Do you think that artists say, I hear a lot of artists in the art show say that the price that they sell is the wholesale price, that the gala should double the price. Want to get the piece from them. Well, that's one. And the other question would be, the other part of that question, do you think that people should have a wholesale price set up before they go to the show?
Of course, pricing should be set before
Yeah.
you go to the show.
Hey, Oscar, when you're selling to a gallery, you can't be in your booth and waver like, oh well, maybe I'll give it to you at this price. You have to actually know that shows a total lack of confidence in your work. So if you plan to sell to a gallery, if you plan to sell to a business that's reselling it, then you better have a price. You better know your price.
No, you misunderstood the question. The question is, say that my wholesale, I sell in the art show the piece for $1,500, but my wholesale price is at $1,000. Okay, that's my wholesale price. Whatever the gallery want to charge above the $1,000, I really don't care.
That's right.
Because I
That's right.
I don't care. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the question is, that's one thing. But I got artists that say I sell the piece for $2,000 at the art show. So when I sell it to the gallery, they got two thoughts. It will be $1,000 for me, and the gallery can only charge $2,000. If they charge more than, I'm supposed to get half of whatever they charge me.
No, that's not the way to look at it.
Well, excuse me,
like
wait.
that.
It depends. It depends on if they're buying your work or if it's consignment. Barry, remember?
Well, I don't care what anybody does. I personally would never look at it like that.
The other question that I have is like, people go to people are going to the art show, and the way that they have to see it, they're buying at wholesale price at the art show. They're getting a deal by buying them from us in the art show, because that's what be half of what the gallery will be paying.
Look at an art fair.
Sense?
At an art fair, you never bring up the word wholesale. What you do is you give them a deal. You have your retail price, and if you want to give them a lesser price, then you're giving them a deal. But you're not, and then, if you're, sometimes I'll go, well, I can't give it to you for they're asking for a certain price that I can't give it to you for that wholesale. I might even bring up the word wholesale, but I'm not, it's not the way it's done. Look it comes down to, what do successful businesses do? And that could be department stores, it could be Macy's, it could be any place that sells a lot of work, a lot of whatever that they're selling. And listen, it's universal. These principles are the same for everything, because otherwise there wouldn't be graduate programs in business. It's already been done. It's already been worked out. So, my thing is, like, I worked in retail as in the shoe business as a store manager and a buyer. Go to the wholesale shows and buy work, from some, let's say, a company. So I had a budget, and I knew what I wanted to spend with each person. And I learned that
But you also probably knew what you could sell in the store price wise. Like what range?
You know what's funny? Yeah, right. That's right. That's exactly right. So when I went to buy, I would buy that where I was looking for stuff that I could sell in that price range because at any trade show, there's low end, there's medium end, and high end. Sound familiar? And as salespeople, that's what we're doing too in our booths, or it should be, or could be. You got a low end, you got a medium, and a high. Now, that isn't etched in stone. You might want to sell the low end stuff at an art fair because I find that sometimes they'll buy the cheapest thing. So if your cheapest thing is X, but if you don't have X and Y is, let's say, twice as expensive, you might sell more Y. You won't sell the X is not your bottom line. Y is, and so there's a lot of tricks to this. A lot of that you learn through experience.
I had an experience of the most expensive piece in my booth was substantially higher than anything else, and it had a big opal in it and a lot of labor. But in any case, people would see that, go to it, flip over it, and then they'd say, "Oh, I can't afford your work." And I took it. I would bring it with me to shows, and I didn't keep it in the booth, but I'd show it to certain people. I eventually did sell it. And I think that a customer saw it on the website and asked about it, but it really became a distraction. And if I had maybe a price point in between it also, maybe that would have helped. But it was such a jump that I thought that was interesting.
Except, you might, like we were talking before, you might get that one person that wants to pay that much.
Well, I did sell it eventually, but I didn't have it out. So I don't know if this is true or not.
It's another trick.
But I sell things that are not. Last week I did that are not out in the cases. Some people see my website. Others might say, "Well, what else do you have?" They have time. They want to try things on, and so I don't know if there's like a cachet to having the thing that's not out. I don't know if there's any science to that at all. But
you know what? I love this because I like having something in the back, and you talk to them, and they say, this one has too much blue in it. Do you have anything with green? And I'll go, wait a minute, and I'll go in the back. I said, I have this piece. I've been saving it for someone, saving it for you or whatever. I'll go in the back and bring it out, and I always sell it. That works. That trick works. Getting something out.
It's not necessarily a trick where you can't have everything out.
I'm just using it. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, it works.
But yeah, with the very big jump in price point, it turned into a distraction, which I thought that was very interesting.
Barry, maybe you ought to do Zoom trainings for newbie artists and charge for it.
No chance.
Hey.
My suggestion is get an MBA and go work for somebody, or get a computer degree and go into that, or I never suggest that people do this for a living. It's way too much work.
I'm not saying you should tell them to do it for a living. You should say, if you're stupid enough to do this for a living, let me give you a hand.
Yeah. Hey. Well, that would feed into
I wouldn't actually say it that way, of course, but
I like the Emerson method of sales. He's in his booth, and as soon as people focus in on a certain piece, he walks away for a half hour.
Oh, I've never seen him do that.
Oh, absolutely. And if they're still there when he comes back,
that's right. Oh, I see. He'll stay there till midnight, until they throw him out. That's what I noticed about Emerson.
I've seen him do that a number of times.
Great guy, though.
Yeah.
That sounds like the type of restaurant where they have rude wait staff.
I saw that.
Yeah, I don't think
That's kind of weird.
I don't get that. It's not.
Well, I don't either. So like real estate agents also like that pushy well, you better buy it now because somebody else is, stuff like that makes me run away, and it must work because, or car salespeople or things like that, that aggressive kind of selling.
Yeah, but it only works to a certain type of personality.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So Allison, you want to help me out here with something? I'm
What's that?
actually thinking about making the trek out west. Now that I got a new van and it runs smoothly, I can
Yeah.
do Art in the Pearl and all those. Okay.
Right.
So there's two sets of shows. One is in end of September, early August. Those are the mountain ones, Sun Valley, all that. Okay. And then there's the ones at the end of August. So
hmm
um, can you enlighten me on the first set, the early set?
So the early set would be Park City Park City and Crested Butte are the same weekend.
Okay.
Crested Butte, Colorado, Park City.
Yes.
I haven't done Crested Butte probably since 2018, but they're moving back. I mean, one might, if you wanted to show that weekend, you could apply to both. Park City, I would say, gets more actual crowds.
Is that
because
Kimball?
they're near a metro. Yeah, they're near a metro area, Salt Lake City. Anyway, there's those. Sun Valley would be after that. Sun Valley is only like, I don't know, 6 hours from Park City. A lovely drive. Sun Valley is a really slow show, but I've done the show probably 15 or 16 times. Although this year was my first time since 2018, and it was one of my better shows. It's really slow and really quiet, but sometimes it's great. It's never been awful. People might buy their Christmas gifts there, even though it's summer. As far as an audience goes, it's compared to a lot of other shows, it is like really specifically, the 0.0001%. I mean, if you look at the demographics of the area, people come from Boise. They'll come from Boise. I think is, I don't know, an hour or an hour and a half away, but they'll come for the date of the show. And a lot of artists call it a filler show. But I mean, I was happy with it this year. So I don't count on volume. I make sales, and hopefully a few of those sales are, over $1,000, and and so that helps make a good show for me. So those two are a good combo.
Now the ones at the end of the year, that's Art in the High Desert, and then what's the one before that?
I don't know what's
Pearl Street or something.
Before you go to the next two, explaining the setup from Park City, because I think that would.
Yeah, Park City. It's on Main Street, and it's a sloping hill. And I mean, I like to kind of be in the middle. It's at a slight angle, but people at the top of the hill have a deeper slope, so that's the one thing.
Yeah, I'm more interested in the ones at the end of the month because.
So I don't know what is before Bend. There's Bend, the Pearl, and then Labor Day shows.
There's nothing between Sun Valley and High Desert. There's nothing in there. Basically, if you go to the three, it will be Belleville and Washington, then go to Utah, and then go back to Idaho, take a week off, and then go to Oregon to do High Desert and Parks and Out in the Pearl. That's the one.
Oh, and prior to Park City, I guess there would be the Bellevue Arts Museum show.
Nah.
But so yeah, there's Art in the High Desert, Art in the Pearl. I don't know what other Labor Day shows are out there now.
The thing to do would be to do those two, and then go to St. Louis.
Right.
But of those 3 shows, they're all hard to get into. So I'm not saying, oh, I'll go do the show,
Right. Right.
I
So
hope.
Art in the High Desert, as you probably know, has a space. The money's down already. There's a space in Bend. It's a great location right in town. It's across from where the old space was. Grassy area with shade. And parking, and it's on the banks of the river, and so it's definitely an excellent location. I've done the show a lot. I did the very first one, and the show's been going on for, I don't know, 12 plus years, 13 years maybe. So I have built up a following, and each year it got better, because they do a good job with advertising. The town has grown, all of that. I mean, I don't know what to expect. I did okay at the fairgrounds. It was most of the people who came to that show had already been to the show in Bend previously, so they were excited that it came back. But you don't get the serendipity because that was such a destination. Where the new location, you'll get people who just serendipitously will come to the show. I mean, they do a good job of advertising, and it's now the community is 100,000 people, so it's much bigger. The median house is 700. It's so rather than just being a destination, I think more people will physically come to the show because it'll be really convenient since it's right in town. So I mean, I can't, except for it, at least it does have a history. I don't know what else to say, because of course, at the fairgrounds, it would kind of die off early in the day, where I think because of the location, it'll be much more consistent as far as crowds go. But I can only guess. There's certainly qualified buyers. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I figured that. I just wanted to hear some input.
And there's also a lot of people go to resorts in the summer around there, and like people from all over the country who are coming to Bend as a destination. And so people like that. When I used to do the show in the old location, I'd meet people visiting from all over. But I'd say it's a qualified buyer at that show.
Yeah, I know people that are good people from this end of the world, the eastern part of the United States, that drive all the way out there. So it has to be pretty good. And I haven't been able to, I'm curious more than anything. And I haven't felt confident driving my old junker vehicle out there.
Right.
So now I can get around anywhere. So I'm thinking, why not try it? What the hell?
Well, it's nice if you have the double bill, of High Desert, Art in the Pearl.
Yeah.
It's 3 hours to Portland.
That's the thing. I won't go just for one event. So I'd have to get into both. So
yeah. And in Portland, you'd have to figure out where to park your van safely and things like that.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Great. So you're saying it's not the nicest of neighborhoods?
Like many cities across the country, there's a huge homeless problem. I actually felt it was much better this year than I did it in 2019. And they have a fence around the show now. Anyone can walk in, but there's a fence around, so it makes it more secure.
And you get to park inside the fence?
No.
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 Oh,
That's the thing.
Darn.
But on the other hand, you could stay in one of the neighborhoods out a little that's like 15 minutes away, and then pay for parking for the show.
Yeah.
Sleep in your van too.
Well, out somewhere, not, yeah. But I've stayed out like 15 minutes from the show at an Airbnb. But this last time I was walking distance and I had a parking spot that fit my car. It wouldn't fit your van. It was like so tight. I had to put the side view mirrors in. So that's a consideration. And
Mhm.
while the setup is easy, because it's on these city streets, it's that takes a little longer as far as the load in time and things like that. In fact, I'm thinking if I were to get into that, I don't want to do the drive I did last year. I drove from the Pearl home 2 days. It was like 21 hours, and then flew to St. Louis. And I'm thinking if I were to get into all of these, I would maybe fly, like do Park City, Sun Valley, go home, and then fly to Portland or something like that. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
it's going to have to be one set of shows, the early August or the end of August. For me, it can't be both
right.
because
Well,
I don't want to hang around for 3 weeks. Although going to the federal parks, in New Mexico and Utah, that would be fun. So who knows? Maybe that could be part of it.
yeah, I had a weekend in between, and I actually went to visit people in California, and so stayed at people's homes, which was kind
I
of
can do that too.
nice.
I can go visit
um,
friends in California.
there's another show Labor Day weekend in Woodside, California, called Kings Mountain,
Yeah.
and it's a gorgeous setting in the forest. And I used to do it. It's $100 booth fee and a 15% commission. And so it's 45 minutes south of San Francisco. And I did it, it was great. And it was like good for like I did it for many years. And then it just like kind of went down for me. It's still good for other people. And it's just an interesting show to look at, Kings Mountain Art Fair. And I know their application is very early, but they allow you to camp on the grounds if you can sleep in your van. I don't know if you can, but quite a few artists do. And my AirPod dropped. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. But Barry, you should just check out the Kings Mountain Art Fair. If you were doing these other shows, it's Labor Day weekend.
Hmm.
So it could be Bend. All right, Bend and that, or Bend and Pearl. So I'd
probably drive back afterwards and take my time. I just do the two events and come back. That actually two's enough.
What's
when
the
I have like four shows in a row, and it gets into the third one, and I'm going, why do I don't want to do this? Two is
right.
enough, and then I have one more
It's,
after that, so I got four. So
yeah,
you know,
I know. Last year when I was setting up for St. Louis, and I flew there, but I thought, oh my God, I feel like I just did this. It does get to be too much.
yeah.
what's the story of
Yeah,
Sausalito?
you babies.
No idea about Sausalito.
Isn't that
They had
Labor
some
Day
sort of
weekend also?
yeah, but it hasn't happened. They had some sort of fundraiser like a year ago, or I saw something on Facebook. I don't know what, but I don't know. No idea. And there's no ACC San Francisco anymore. But Kings Mountain Art Fair though is like, it's the show nobody's ever heard of, but could be. I mean, it's been great for me in the past, as I say, but I think I sometimes you dilute your market too much or something. But well-run show. It's been going on for over 60 years, and then it's it's inexpensive to do. So if you don't do well, I mean, for me, it was a local show, and easy hours. So I will say about Bend and Pearl, the hours are pretty easy, also, and Sun Valley. I think it's 10 to 5, or that's the easiest show, but it's slow, which for some people that won't work. So
Actually, I prefer a slow show with all buyers
Yes.
as opposed to a really crowded show with the walking zombies.
Mm-hmm.
You
Right.
know, a slow show, actually, slow show kind of works because I like to talk to people that come into my booth. So, you know,
Mhm.
you get to spend proper time with each customer.
Right.
And I do better in that situation.
Mhm. It could be one of those shows where you think, oh no, I came all this way, I'm not going to sell anything. And then one
It's-
person can come out of
yeah,
nowhere and just like make your whole day.
yeah. It's hard to count on that.
Well, it's hard to count on it, but at that show, it seems to, I mean, I think there's some of us who have done the show many times where other people say it's filler show, and it's some of it is just building up the clientele. There's also a lot of visitors at that time of year. So, I don't know, but I hope I get in this year.
Which one?
I'd like to get into Park City and Sun Valley. It's a
Mhm,
good double bill.
mhm. And then there's 3 weeks till the or 2 weeks to the
No, it's
Netherlands.
one weekend, one free weekend.
Oh, yeah, we'll see.
So it ends up being what, like 10 days?
Yeah, I would love to blow off what I've been doing in October, in August and in October.
Hmm.
I'd like to have an excuse to not to do the shows that I've already been invited back to.
Oh,
I just don't want to go. They get worse and worse every year. I thought the
right.
quality of the artwork in my October shows was flea market quality.
Uh,
You know, even though there were good people there, it wasn't all that way,
mhm,
but in general, it was like,
mhm.
what is, because when you have that kind of work, it attracts those kinds of people and
Right, right.
my customers. So I want
Well, you could
shows where
apply.
my customers. Hmm?
You could just apply and see where the chips fall,
That's what I'm
right?
doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't I don't know if it was you, Allison, but somebody suggested that, you sign up for the show, but you don't sign up for it. So you put it in the Zap, you start the
Oh, that
application.
wasn't. Oh, yeah. I do that. I start the application
Yeah.
and yeah.
I just went through and did that with a bunch of shows. So now I won't forget. So every time I go on Zap, I'll see the deadline. So I like that.
Right. Right.
I took
Also,
that
depending
advice.
upon how the show juries, if you start an application early, that gives you, even though you can finish the application the last day of the show, a lot of the shows go by the number. And so if you start an
Oh.
application early, you get a lower number and come up sooner in the jury process.
Ah.
There's three
Well,
ways. The way the court said, the way the coconut girl does it, they say sorted. She sorted out randomly, and then the other way is by how they got paid.
oh, right. When you submit, that's probably important.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So those are the three ways they go. And most of the show tells you that you read the rules. They usually tell you how it is done.
Ah. It's so hard to know, even with the best shows, there's no guarantee. I mean, this has been a weird year.
I'm spraying.
Oh,
It's always weird.
well, I don't know. It just seems more weird this year.
Well, I guess the weirdest year is the year you get into every show you apply to.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
that's a relief.
A weird year will be you apply to every single show and you get to the show that you really want to get into, not to your beach shows choice.
Okay. So my idea of weird is to apply to a gazillion shows and be waitlisted for every show.
Oh, that's tragic. Although I've had better years doing fewer shows.
I'll be careful. I'll be careful, honey. No, I'm finished.
Oh, good.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can't see you, but we can hear you. It should be the other
Yes.
way around.
Okay, he's muted.
Ooh,
The thing is, if you apply to all these shows, you know, the reason why we apply to a lot of shows is because we're not going to get into all of them. But when you do get into all of them, then it's a hard decision to not do
That's
them in the
right.
first place.
That's right.
Yeah, and
it's not just
That's what-
that, Alex. That you apply to all those shows because you think that you know there's a percentage of shows you're not going to get in. The problem that I've been finding the last 2 years that I apply shows that I think I'm capable to get in, that I think I should be able to get in, and then have the money to cover all the shows you got in. Because
Right.
none of the shows are, like, in my case, most of the shows are not what I call A shows,
Mhm.
or what, you know, so you have to do volume.
Right.
So it's a little bit different, you know. I
But-
approach a little bit different than most people.
But even with A shows, so-called A shows, you might not have such a good show. I mean,
I
that's
know.
that's
I
that's
know.
the gamble. I mean,
Well, you should all join me on the board of NAI. Then you would get into every show you applied to.
mhm.
I've been
Like
there.
you, Court.
I've been there.
If Court gets into every show, I'm going to start making my presence known.
Oh my!
Whatever.
I'm
hey,
sorry, I couldn't let. I just had to throw that out there.
whatever it.
I-
As far as I'm concerned, whatever it takes. You know. It's all fair.
Or your spouse be a juror.
Mhm.
Or
That's the
I want to
best
be
one.
the jury.
Just for anybody that doesn't know, NAIA has put together an emerging artist workshop. So if you know of any shows that might be interested, have them contact me. We're doing an in-person emerging artist workshop in conjunction with shows that will be part Zoom, part in person at a show, and part volunteering at the show. So part of my job is to get this out to people.
I wonder if you have shows already lined up to participate, and if so, if they could put the information out on their newsletters to
They will
artists
be.
who've applied.
We just rolled this out
Yep,
in
I
a
know.
limited manner to shows last week.
Uh-huh.
So we are rolling it out, trying to get it out on social media and some other places this week.
Hmm.
Do you like my
You know what?
Thanksgiving to Christmas photo back here?
Oh.
The best one I ever saw was at a little Okinawan restaurant outside the military bases. And the guy had gone to swap meets or, rummage sale. And he had a blue aluminum Christmas tree up, nothing on it, just the tree. And under it, there was a set of pilgrim candles and a ceramic jack-o'-lantern. And he was very proud of his American holiday decor. Any Americans that came into his little restaurant, he took them over there to admire his, display. Which, makes me wonder, are we doing things just as weird with Japanese stuff as probably.
I'm sure we do that with about every culture we encounter.
Probably.
Dead air.
Oh, I'm just
No.
looking something up.
Dead air.
Well, guys, I'm going to let you go because I'm about to load my tank.
All right,
All
Oscar.
right.
I see you guys later. Be
Bye.
good.
All right.
Bye, Oscar.
See you later. Bye.
Do you have a meeting tonight, Court?
Yeah, we got a pack party Zoom tonight. And in between this one and the pack party Zoom, I have an NAI board Zoom.
It's a lot of Zooms.
And we've
So-
got
What-
NAIA board NAIA happy hour Zoom next week. And we have a topic for that, which I don't remember, but I can look up.
Retired artists.
How we're doing.
Artists that should retire, but
Or
can't.
artists that retired and are trying to scrape their way back in again.
Or artists who are just tired.
We are doing unwritten art show etiquette is our topic.
Unwritten
Oh,
art show. Okay.
Oh,
You
one of my
mean don't
favorite
sit in front of your
topics.
neighbor's booth or
Oh God.
So on the podcast, the NAIA podcast, sometimes they talk about things like that. Like if you just sit down to eat, say your breakfast or lunch, another artist comes and starts talking to you and you just want to eat your lunch and have like 5 minutes of quiet time.
Just tell them.
I
Say-
understand that, but it just sometimes you don't want to engage and there's no place to hide.
That's why you
Hide
just
in
have
your-
to tell them, hey,
hide
listen, I
behind your
need
booth.
this time to eat lunch and to be quiet. And I still love you, but I'll talk to you later.
Let's see, that's then on January 2nd. We're going to be talking about kind of yearly plans. And on the 16th, we're going to be talking about advice for emerging artists.
The second, that's kind of early in the year.
We're doing these every other week on the
Mhm.
regular Tuesdays through February, and probably going to stop the end of February.
Mhm.
We might go a little bit into March, but probably stop the end of February as shows start back up again.
Right.
But the
Well, they're interesting. I mean, the two that have happened so far, I've really enjoyed.
yeah, we're going to start posting them. I've got to get access to our YouTube account to post them, because there's a lot of good information we talked about last week.
Hmm.
So, and then the unwritten art show etiquette and the emerging artists, actually those topics are to help me put together the workshop for emerging artists.
Mhm. I like that unwritten art fair etiquette. I think that's a great topic.
So
Many things come up right away.
It's funny. The problem with that is the people that actually need to see that
Yeah.
are anywhere around. It's kind of funny.
Right. It's like, oh, you're in the middle of a sale. I'll come back. Like that ruins the sale.
That's right. They shouldn't even walk in if they're in the middle of a sale.
Well, but like maybe if you're talking to the artist, somebody comes in, they seem interested, you just disappear, you don't say goodbye.
Right. That's right. The other artist. That's right. Or or you.
Or Emerson.
then, by having them volunteer with the show, hopefully they'll get have a little better understanding of how shows work. So hopefully we're going to crank out some new artists that will make life easier for everybody, show directors and other artists, and give them the tools to get started on a good, profitable career.
Unless, of course, we have a dictatorship in 2024, but I digress. It's not funny, actually.
Not
No, but it's
possible.
very possible.
It's not possible.
Famous last words, not
It's,
possible.
they said it wasn't going to be possible the first time he got elected.
That's right. That's right. Anyway,
I'm talking about
I
the
didn't mean to-
dictatorship part, not the
Yeah.
election part. So you
Um,
think you can rule the country from the prison? Is that a possibility? From prison?
Well, now you're being optimistic. So I think that's
Now,
a
here's
good place
here's
to.
what I'd really like to see. I hope that he gets to nothing prevents him from, participating in the election. I hope he gets, beat by an even bigger margin than last time. And then he goes to jail.
How about not running at all?
No, I want him
So
to
this-
lose again. I want him to be humiliated again.
So the artist market that I do here, it's been canceled 3 times in a row because of bitter cold weather. And there's another organization, apparently in the contract, there's like a clause. And so this other organization for next Saturday is going to have an event called Winterfest with hot cocoa and artists selling their work, but we can't sell our work. I mean, we have to basically forego an artist market. And so anyway, we had our holiday party yesterday. It's kind of fun that I actually get to go to, an office party. But anyway, we were all talking about how, we hope that next weekend, well, it's sort of in the same lines that you were talking about, Court, basically, but less extreme. But we were talking about how we hope that, this weekend, the weather is bitter cold and it sleets and it's, kind of an impossible sort of day to have such an event. So anyway.
All right, folks. Well, I got to go because I've got another Zoom in about half an hour, and I got to go get some dinner started. And besides that, Gray wants attention.
Did Ben say he wouldn't be there?
Yeah, Ben's not available tonight, so I'm chairing the meeting tonight.
Yeah, I think it's his anniversary.
So it winds up that the NAIA board meeting is second Tuesday. So it has been falling on pack party Zooms. And then I think in January, because of the February so short, it kicks over and then it's the off weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And Allison, I'll let you know ahead of time. We're changing the happy hour.
Okay.
So it'll be an hour earlier.
Oh, I like that.
Earlier than what?
We were doing it at 8 Eastern time. It's going to be 7 Eastern time.
Keeps getting better.
Wait, which thing?
Well,
Hold
the
on.
one consistent comment we got from a lot of people was it was too late on the East Coast. So I said, we'll just move it up an hour.
What is that? My time. Mountain time, I think, is the most confusing.
2
So
hours.
it's 5. So it's
It'll
5
be
o'clock.
5 your time.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's perfect because it's well before dinner for me anyway. So I like that better. But I still don't know which one you're talking about.
The NAIA, the one on regular
The NA
Tuesdays.
Okay, got it. I understand. Well, you've got a lot of Zooms.
Yes,
And,
I have one set on regular Tuesdays and one set on other Tuesdays.
Right.
And then another one every Tuesday.
Yeah. And we've actually talked about applicable things this time.
Yes.
So are people bringing you their dogs to photograph?
No,
Okay. Nobody brings cats, right?
I wouldn't.
I don't think cats. I don't think cats would stand for it.
Oh, some probably would. I'll see everybody later. Bye.
All right, see you,
Bye,
Court.
All right.
So, Larry, Eric did not end up ordering any lights yet. He's going to just wait until the new year, wait until school is over so he could focus on that.
Okay.
So, anyway, have all the information, but it's going to be, no matter what, it'll be expensive. So I'd rather it be in the new year.
Why?
Because I really don't want to spend any more money this year.
But you can write it off.
That's how I feel.
I understand that, but you could have too many write-offs. I mean, this year it was down. Yeah. Although thankfully I had a very lucky, my bracelet of mine was in a magazine and this couple called me, came over, and
Oh, terrific.
it was like the best kind of, she had fun trying things on, and it was like I like that when people come to my studio and they have the time, and yeah, it was really, it was, it was like a craft show without the overhead. So it was
Hey.
it was a relief.
Does anybody remember my teddy bear pictures from the 1990s?
Yeah,
Early 1990s.
because you just posted them. So
Right, recently.
No, because actually, I came across a bear in the basement with an outfit on that we had never photographed because it was the tail end when we had stopped doing teddy bears. And I got a brand new bear. I bought it from somebody on eBay. All the same bears. And I'm going to do one last teddy bear picture. And it's going to be really cute.
well, is it 5 o'clock yet?
5:30.
No, nope,
5:30.
not here.
Well, I
Why,
gotta
ready
go.
for a drink?
No, I gotta make. I have 4 more pots to throw.
Yeah, it's dark out.
It's dark out and it's dry. It's dry here, so there's no slacking. I mean, I have to immediately cover them in plastic, and then finish them the next morning. Usually, I take 3 days. No, by tomorrow afternoon, they'll be too hard to work on. So I have to just do it.
Just move with it. So you're applying to all those shows then, right?
Well, I put them in my queue like you did. I'm
Yes.
I'm in the research phase of that, but I think I'd like to just, it'd be like a nice vacation or something.
And there's I know Bend has an early bird, you save $10. I don't know if Pearl does, but I always take advantage of the early bird fees. $10 here, $10 there.
Mhm.
Adds up.
Except that I'm flying to so many shows and on the same weekend that I never do. So it isn't, it isn't saving $10. It's throwing away a few hundred, so
Right.
I had to get
Yeah.
used to that. I'd accept that as this year's reality,
Right. Right. Yeah.
which,
Yep.
which will only be bad if I get rejected from everything.
That would be bad.
It's just
But look at what you'll
possible,
save in expenses.
which is possible, it's possible.
I mean, it's so random that, I mean, some years I have very few shows and waitlisted. What was it not this year, 2022. I got into 2 shows. I had 2 waitlist, everything else rejected. I ended up getting in off the wait list, but that was a little scary, and
Yeah.
then this year I got into like all of the outdoor shows. I did get rejected from the indoor shows I applied to. And so at least it's not 100%, which is a good thing. That means you always have something to strive for. But I didn't apply to those indoor shows this year.
I
Especially
want to be one of
Philadelphia.
those. Yeah, I want to be one of those people that get into everything and have to make a decision.
Uh-huh.
Like there's somebody, and I won't bring up his name, but he gets into everything and he goes, "Oh, I was so worried I wasn't going to get into Cherry Creek or something." Like shut
Uh-huh.
up. Most of us, 90% of us aren't getting in at all. Like so, keep it to yourself.
Hmm.
I don't say that. I say that to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, these shows that like I know someone who got into Smithsonian and has never gotten in before. And it's like once you get in, I mean, I've applied for 20 years on and off and never gotten in. So it's not a place you could build up an audience.
No, it's a gamble actually.
Yeah.
For a couple reasons, a couple other
Hmm.
reasons, like there's an East Coast bias. So if you're new and you're not from the East Coast without a reputation,
Uh-huh.
they're not necessarily buying because they know what they're buying. They're buying because of the reputation of the artist and oh, he must be good because he's here every year or something.
Right.
So
Yes.
you could be
Uh,
really,
I,
really good and not make any sales because because of their,
because they don't know
their
you.
bias.
There's something to that. I used to do a show in San Francisco, Contemporary Craft Market. It was Roy
Yeah.
Helms. And I had done it maybe 3 years. And this woman came by and she said, I don't think I own your work yet. And it's like what you're saying. It's like she saw me enough times and then finally bought something.
Uh,
So
Yeah, and that's where you say, "You haven't bought my work." Well, it's about time. This is the year. I'm not letting
well,
you. I'm
there's
not letting you out of my booth until you leave with something.
but there's something to say about people parting with their hard-earned money and wanting to know that you're going to be in business, that it's not just a hobby for you, or that they're going to be able to see you, in future times. And um, so I've definitely experienced that. And then sometimes they could see you too much. Oh, I'll see you again next year.
No, I'm not
So
coming back. But listen, when Sochi Otani can get paid 700 million for in a 10-year contract in baseball, it means there's a lot of money out there.
Yeah, what do they say? The top 1% makes more money than the other 99.9% or
It's
something.
more like
something like that.
0.1%, not just
Right.
1%.
Right.
0.1%. I want to know where I went wrong.
You
So
were
what does that
born-
compare to other baseball players? It's much higher, isn't it?
It's more. It's 2 times the biggest contract ever written.
Ah, okay.
But he's
Interesting.
allegedly the best player in baseball.
And it's a short career.
He has a no.
Baseball can
He's
go
counting on for 20 years.
Oh.
It's a
Football
10-year contract,
still
and
can.
he's already played for 7 years. So
Uh-huh.
if he makes it to the end, that's 17
Well,
years.
but you can become injured, right? And things like
And
that.
he's Japanese, and the Japanese players aren't allowed to come here till they're 25, or they won't let them out in Japan. So that 17 years starts at 25, not
Which is late, right?
yeah.
Mhm. I
But
mean,
every
for the
Japanese
sport.
player, I'm sorry to interrupt, but every Japanese
No.
player that plays here, they're not allowed out of Japan until they're 25.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
That rule could be changing this year because there's a 20-year-old kid, early 20s, who's
Mhm.
a sensational pitcher, and he wants
Mhm.
to play here. So, things change.
Right, of course. All right, well, I should probably go and return some calls.
All right, guys,
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
next week.
Yeah. See ya.
All right,
Bye.
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 Bye.